First Thoughts with Reverend David Campton.
Well, good morning. It's good to be with you today. And our first thoughts this morning are based on the words of Matthew chapter 13, beginning to read at verse 18. And I'm reading from the New Revised Standard Version. Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what is sown in the heart. This is what was sown on the path. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet such a person has no root, but endures only for a while. And when trouble or persecution arises on account of the word, that person immediately falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the lure of wealth choke the word, and it yields nothing. But as for what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and yields, in one case 100-fold, in another 60, and in another 30. This is the word of the Lord. Well, I have to say that my first thoughts on getting this passage from Martin for today was a thought of relief, because I have a long history of working with the parables. From my undergraduate days, I've written on the parables of Jesus as a particular form of communication. And indeed, this very week, I should have been on the far side of America in Washington State, high up a mountain in Holden Village, doing a series of lectures on the perplexing parables of Jesus. And the parable that this story refers to would have been key to that series of lectures. But don't worry, I'm not going to give you a lecture this morning. It's far too early in the day for that. And anyway, part of the point of this parable, which is, as I say, has been referred to as a parable of parables, is that Jesus didn't give lectures. He didn't give sermons with 3 clear points or 5 or however many. He didn't use PowerPoints. He didn't hand out notes afterwards. He told stories, parables. And the thing about parables, the thing about stories, is that their result is unpredictable. They are not a straightforward means of communication. They're there to make people think. And at times, the disciples clearly found that frustrating. And this is one of the few times that we have in the Gospels Jesus explaining one of his parables. But even his explanation leaves some room for maneuver. But let's just look at what the text says briefly, and what Jesus is getting at. He starts out and says that, when anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what is sown in the heart. And the thing is that under that issue of understanding, here, if the evil one snatches the word away, in our lives too often, no one needs to snatch it away. We give away the word. When we think about the word, we all too often think of its application to other people. We don't think of how it applies to us. Then there's that seed that's sown on the rocky ground that springs up, but it only has a round. And when trouble or persecution comes on account of the word, the person falls away. And how true is that? Well, there's a lot of issues at the moment, and people are saying that that we as Christians are persecuted in this community. We know nothing of persecution in a global or historic sense. If persecution really were to come, would the word wither with us? As for that which was thrown among thorns, here the cares of the world and the lure of wealth choke the word. And again, how true is that for us? Anxiety about all manner of things can really choke the life out of us, and Jesus has other stories to tell about that. But also the lure of wealth, the materialism, the whole conspicuous consumption that underpins Western society. How much does that choke the life out of the word? But then it comes to that which was sown on good soil, the one who hears the word, and there's that word again, understands it. And what happens is it bears fruit 100-fold, 60, 30. Now, I'm not a gardener. My father was an avid gardener. He came from farming stock and was in many ways a frustrated farmer. But what I'm told is that any seed to give 100-fold or even a 30-fold yield would be an astounding harvest, particularly at the time that Jesus was telling this. That's the twist in the tale of this. This is a miraculous seed to provide such a harvest. But the point is that the same seed goes everywhere. It goes hither and thither, but it's only that which is on the good soil that produces the harvest. We think too often that we understand the parable. I've looked at this parable for decades. Of course I understand it, but where's that miraculous harvest? Where's that miraculous harvest? If that miraculous harvest isn't there, then the problem isn't elsewhere. The problem isn't with the seed, it's with us. And at the end of the day, as I say, there's nothing wrong with the seed. What we have to do is address the quality of the soil. My father, every springtime, he would have turned the soil over and got a good lot of manure in that we then had to pitchfork into the rows that he had dug out, ready for the crop that he was about to sow, whatever that crop may be. Perhaps with us, the issue is not just what we hear, but the preparation that we put in to make sure that the soil that seed lands in is good soil. What's the equivalent of turning over the soil and pitchforking in a whole mound of manure? Those are my first thoughts. Enjoy the rest of the day.